Have you ever asked yourself if what you're living is really love? Or if, deep down, it's just control in disguise? That's a painful question, one that cuts deep, because nobody enters a relationship expecting to be manipulated, deceived, or diminished. We all step in because we believe we've found something real, someone who will bring us joy, someone who will walk by our side. But sadly, not everything that looks like love truly is. Sometimes it's nothing more than an invisible prison, built with sweet words, empty promises, and control so subtle you don't even notice until you're already suffocating. And the cruelest part is that manipulation rarely shows up in obvious ways. It doesn't come with chains you can see. It doesn't come with loud warnings. It slips in quietly, disguised as affection, as concern, as care, until suddenly what felt like love starts to feel like captivity. At the beginning, it all looks perfect. That person shows up like a dream, like someone who seems made just for you. The conversations flow, the looks sparkle, the messages come non-stop. You feel like you've finally found someone who understands you, who values you, who places you first. It feels like a movie, like a fairy tale. But right there lies the danger. Because that intense beginning often isn't love at all. It's a strategy. It's what many call love bombing, when they shower you with attention, with compliments, with exaggerated displays of affection, to create in you a sense of dependence. You feel special, unique, like nobody has ever treated you this way before. And though it feels magical, it's a trap. Without realizing, you've begun handing over your heart, your mind, and even your freedom to someone who doesn't want to love you, but to control you. Manipulation never arrives openly. Nobody ever says, "I'm here to control you, to make you feel small, to make you doubt yourself." They would never say that. Manipulators always wear the mask of care. They use lines like, "I just want the best for you. I'm only worried about you. I'm protecting you." And behind those words, the net begins to form. At first, it's just a comment about your clothes, then a criticism about a friend. Later, a suspicious question because you took too long to reply. And slowly, without noticing, you're living surrounded by rules, guilt, and judgments that don't belong to you. The most vicious part of emotional manipulation is how it convinces you that the problem is you. You start feeling not enough, always guilty, always owing something. One clear sign is when the blame is never theirs. If the relationship turns cold, it's because you didn't try hard enough. If there's an argument, it's because you overreacted. If there's betrayal, somehow they still manage to make it your fault. Because you didn't give me attention. Because you weren't listening. Because you weren't enough. Do you see how twisted that is? Manipulators are experts at flipping the script. They make the mistake, but you carry the weight. This has a name: gaslighting. It's when someone makes you doubt your own memory, your own perception, even your sanity. You start asking yourself, am I exaggerating? Am I going crazy? Am I really the one to blame for everything? And once you reach that point, the manipulation has already sunk its claws in, because you've lost trust in yourself. Maybe as you hear this, you're recognizing pieces of your own story. Maybe you remember the nights you cried after an argument and still apologized, even though you hadn't done anything wrong. Maybe you remember that heavy feeling of shrinking in the presence of someone who should have made you feel bigger. And let me tell you this, you're not alone. Thousands of people go through this every day, and many don't even realize it, because manipulation is silent, camouflaged as love. Manipulation tends to follow the same cycle. First comes the idealization stage. You're placed on a pedestal, treated like the best person alive. Then comes the control stage, the criticisms, the restrictions, the subtle demands. Then the guilt stage. You begin to believe that every problem is your responsibility. And just when you're about to give up, comes the reward stage. Suddenly they're sweet again, attentive, loving, and you believe things will finally change. But they don't. The cycle repeats over and over, each time leaving you more trapped, more drained, with less confidence, less peace. So how do you tell the difference between love and control? The answer hurts, but it's clear. Real love gives you freedom. Real love doesn't fear your independence, doesn't try to mold you into what the other wants. Real love doesn't put you in a cage. Real love gives you wings. Control, on the other hand, shrinks you, limits you, makes you feel insecure, guilty, anxious. If your relationship brings you more fear than peace, more anxiety than calm, more guilt than joy. It isn't love, it's control. I want you to stop for a moment and ask yourself, can I truly be myself in this relationship? Can I speak freely without fear of the other's reaction? Can I wear what I want, have my friends, my dreams, my opinions, without being judged or belittled? If the answer is no, then what you're living is not love. Because love doesn't hurt. What hurts is the absence of love. What hurts is control. What hurts is manipulation. I know how hard it is to admit this. I know you'd rather believe the lie sometimes because accepting the truth means facing loneliness, means facing the fear of losing someone you love, means starting over. But hear me. Staying in a manipulative relationship will never hurt less than leaving it. Because if you stay, you lose yourself. You stop recognizing the person in the mirror. You get used to the chains and start believing you deserve nothing better. But you do deserve better. You deserve respect. You deserve peace. You deserve real love. And if as you're listening right now, you feel this message is speaking to you, I want to ask something. Drop a comment below if you've ever been through something like this. Your story might open someone else's eyes. And don't forget to subscribe, because here we're tearing off the masks. We're telling the truths that hurt, but also heal. Manipulation is cruel because it leaves no visible scars. You won't see it in bruises, but in downcast eyes, in heavy silences, in fake smiles that no longer reach the eyes. It destroys from the inside, and too often, outsiders don't notice. That's why so many people suffer in silence, afraid they won't be believed, afraid they'll be judged. But silence only feeds the manipulator. Speaking out is the first step toward freedom. Naming what you're going through is the key to breaking the invisible chains. Remember this, real love doesn't need control. Real love doesn't make you feel small. Real love doesn't manipulate, doesn't plant doubt, doesn't force you to wear a mask. Real love is reciprocal, light, freeing. Anything else is not love. So if this video resonates with you, please don't ignore the signs. Listen to yourself. Your body speaks. Your soul cries out. When peace disappears, when fear becomes routine, when guilt becomes your daily companion, it's a sign you're living in a prison disguised as love. Don't normalize that cage. Don't settle for it. You deserve more. You deserve respect, kindness, and freedom, never less. And if this message helped open your eyes, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Together we can expose the false love and remind the world that real love never chains. It always sets free.